My name is Father Juan Sierra. I am from Argentina, and I came to this parish invited by Bishop Ronald and Father Leo to talk to you about the missions that the Catholic Church has around the world. And although right now I am stationed in Argentina, I wanted to share with you today the most important lesson that I've learned as a priest in mission countries. And I learned this lesson in the first country in which I was assigned to work as a priest. This country is Tajikistan. Just for you to have an idea, Tajikistan is just north of Afghanistan. As a matter of fact, the parish in which I used to work is located only 50 miles from the border with Afghanistan. And you might wonder if there are any Catholics in this area. This area is known as Central Asia, where all of the 10 countries are located: Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan. And yes, there used to be lots of Catholics over there. There are in some countries like Kazakhstan, thousands of them. So let me tell you shortly, how did they arrive to Central Asia? It happened before and during World War II, when Joseph Stalin, the ruler of the former Soviet Union, among other reasons that he had, he thought that some of the Germans, Lithuanians, Polish, Ukrainians, Armenians that were living inside the Soviet Union, they might become a problem during the war. He thought that, for instance, that the Germans might join the German army. So what he did was to send thousands of them, tens of thousands of them, to Central Asia. He put them into trains and sent them, many of them as prisoners in concentration camps, and many others as pioneers in the middle of nowhere. So that is how thousands of Catholics went to Central Asia, and that is why local Catholics, as a joke, of course, they say that Joseph Stalin was the greatest apostle in Central Asia, because thanks to him, because of him, the Catholics arrived to Central Asia. As a matter of fact, the 2 churches that we have in Tajikistan were built by German Catholics. And up to now, the Catholic Church is known as the German Church. And the most important lesson that I've learned as a priest there is that really it is very, very little what a missionary priest can actually do at the missions. It is very little what you can do by your own means, because everything seems to be against the missions. There are too many obstacles to be overcome. So when you arrive at the mission, there is a little bit of disappointment, because you see that it is very little what you can do. Let's start with the language. If you laugh at my English, imagine what the Russians did at my Russian. So, at the seminary, you dream about going out to the missions and preaching to the Gentiles. But when you arrive to difficult places with difficult languages, you see that it is very little what you can actually preach. Sometimes you see yourself, people come with very easy questions that we will love to answer in any of the easy languages that there are. But when it is in Russian, you feel like a 5-year-old child mumbling and stuttering, trying to say something that actually makes sense to them. So there is not much room for preaching. Or even the race in Shymkent in Kazakhstan, there was a very old Polish lady, and this lady, whenever I visited her, she kept telling me that I was a fake priest, a KGB agent, because I didn't speak Polish. In Kazakhstan, 80% of the priests are from Poland. So, since now we have the Pope from Argentina, I would love to see that lady again and tell her a few words. And let's talk about the very ridiculous laws on religion that they have. For instance, you cannot go and visit the sick at the hospital because this is considered to be a religious crime in those countries. You cannot speak about God outside the church. You cannot go and visit a family and pray the rosary with them because this is also considered a crime. And if a neighbor knows that you are praying with that family, he can call the police and they will take you out of the country. So you have to be very careful and abide by these strict laws because otherwise Catholics will be left without a priest. Just for you to have an idea, even to preach on a Sunday Mass, you must have a permit from the local mayor. Without it, you cannot preach. And if you don't have it, the police will come to Mass on a Sunday to check if you have this permit or not. So they will give us this permit for 3 months, and when it expires, we will have to wait 2, 3, 4 weeks until we got a new one. And so imagine how lucky our parishioners were, because every 3 months they will get a full month of masses without homilies, and they really liked that. And well, the poverty of those countries, Tajikistan was a country that had a very bloody civil war. Tajiks and Afghans are about the same. Both of them are Persian peoples. They speak very similar languages. They understand each other. They belong to the same branch of Islam. And when the Soviet Union collapsed, the Taliban from Afghanistan wanted to take over the country, so they had a very bloody civil war. Some historians say that up to 50,000 people, some say that more, even more, died in the span of 6 years during that war. So, as a result of the war, the country was ravaged, and all of the European, that is Christian population, left the country. Christian used to be up to 30% of the population, and now you have only 1% of the population which is Christian in a country which is 99% Muslim. And as a result of it, right now you have only 300 Catholics in Tajikistan, in a Muslim country, which is a very difficult setting for a mission. So there are, again, there are not many things that you can do at the missions. But here comes the most interesting part of it, because even though it is very little what you can do by your own means, nevertheless, God works wonderful things at the missions. Let me tell you about our parish in Tajikistan. It's a wonderful parish. We have only 300 Catholics, but most of them, if not all, come to Mass every Sunday. Most of them go to confession every 2 weeks, or at least once a month, as the saints advise to do. Most of our parishioners pray the rosary daily. Every day we have adoration to the Blessed Sacrament early in the morning, and we have 25 people join us every morning for adoration to the Blessed Sacrament. We have a very large children group. Up to 45 children come to church every single day, and you have to organize activities for them. Thanks God we have the sisters over there, and they do a wonderful job taking care of the children. We have a very large youth group. We go to the mountains very often with them. They have beautiful mountains over there. 93% of the country is mountains. We have a very large men's group. Our parish is a wonderful parish, and you are very busy working at this parish. And these amazing things happen not because of the things you do, because it is very little what you can do by your own means, but these things happen because around the world there are millions of Catholics that offer up their sorrows, their sufferings, their prayers for the missions. And this is what I really wanted to ask from you today, that you pray for the missions. Today you can help with your money at today's second collection. And this is great, this helps a lot. But then you have the rest of your lives to pray for the missions. And believe me that God does wonderful things at the missions with the prayers that are said for the missions. You can make a difference at the missions with your prayers from here, even though you don't see anything happening from here. But believe me that God does wonderful things at the missions with the prayers that are said for the missions. Let me tell you one story, the story of Orsu, that sums up what I am trying to tell to you today. Orsu is a Pamir Tajik guy. The Pamirs are a minority in Tajikistan. They belong to another race, they speak another language, and they live high up in the mountains. They've never had Christian missionaries because the place is very difficult to get to. So when he was a little baby, he moved with his family to Dushanbe, the capital of Tajikistan. And when Orsu was 8 years old, he heard that there were some Argentinian priests in town, and so he wanted to play soccer with us. And so we did. He started to come to our parish every day. He became a friend of us. His mother also started to come to church. And eventually, Orsu got baptized, received First Communion, confirmation, everything. And when he finished high school, he told us that he wanted to be a Catholic priest. So he did his novitiate there in Dushanbe. And when he was ready, we sent him to our seminary in Rome. And he studied there for 8 years. And in May of this year, Orsu became the first Tajik priest in the history of the Catholic Church. So believe me that God does wonderful things at the missions with the prayers that are said for the missions. And the church is in very much need of your prayers. I will tell you only about the missions that my institute, the Institute of the Incarnate Word, has around the world. We are the only Catholic priest in the Gaza Strip in Palestine. I was having dinner with a pastor there who was my classmate. He studied with me at the seminary, and he's the pastor in the Gaza Strip. We are the only Latin Rite priests in Baghdad, in Iraq, in Erbil, in northern Iraq, where the Kurds live. We have houses priests and sisters in Aleppo, in Syria, which has taken the bulk of the war there. We have houses in Egypt, in Tunisia, in Jordan, in Holy Land, Papua New Guinea, Tanzania, Taiwan, Hong Kong, the Philippines, several parishes in Siberia, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, Guyana, and all of these difficult places really need your prayers. So please give a thought about the missions that the Catholic Church has around the world and pray for them. And also pray because our order, our religious institute, has a seminary here in Washington, D.C. for seminarians, young men from this country, and also a house of formation for sisters, young women from this country, that they will eventually be sent to those difficult mission places. So also pray for them, because they will need your prayers too. So please pray for the missions. The church really needs your prayers, and believe me that with your prayers you can make a difference at the missions.